My son told me I'm too old for the house I built. He didn't ask if I was okay. He asked when I planned to leave my own home. He forgot I still had a will and a spine. Before continuing, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and write in the comments, where are you listening from? The text message came at 2:47 on a Thursday afternoon in December. Dad, we need to talk about living arrangements. I stared at those words on my phone screen while snow began falling outside my kitchen window. 23 years I'd lived in this house. The one I bought after Martha died. The one where my son David grew up. The mortgage was paid off 6 years ago. Every room held memories I'd carefully preserved. I called him back immediately. David's voice had that tone I'd learned to recognize over the past few years. Distant, measured, like he was reading from a script someone else had written. Dad, Jennifer and I have been talking. This house is really too much for you to maintain. Alone. You're 71 now. The winters here are brutal. We think it's time you considered downsizing. I looked around my kitchen. The counters were spotless. I'd just finished organizing the basement last week. My lawn in summer was the envy of the neighborhood. David, I'm managing just fine. I like this house. That's the thing, Dad. You like it, but you don't need it. Jennifer's parents are getting older too, and we're trying to be practical about everyone's future. We've been researching some really nice senior communities, climate-controlled, activities, meal plans. You'd love it. Something cold settled in my chest. I don't want to live in a senior community, David. I want to live in my home. The silence stretched for 3 seconds. Well, that's something we need to discuss. In person. Can you come by Saturday? I should have known then. Should have recognized the warning signs. But hope makes you stupid sometimes. Hope that your only child still sees you as something more than a problem to be managed. Saturday arrived, with temperatures dropping below freezing. I drove the 15 miles to David's subdivision, Wellington Estates. Houses that all looked vaguely the same, with their brick facades and 3-car garages. David and Jennifer had moved there 4 years ago. Before that, they'd lived in a modest townhouse I'd helped them buy. The down payment had been $42,000 from my savings. Jennifer answered the door. Her smile was bright and empty, like a store mannequin. Robert, come in. Can I take your coat? I'll keep it on for a minute. Still cold from the drive. David emerged from the kitchen holding a folder, not a coffee mug, to offer his father. A folder. Let's sit in the living room, he said. The furniture was new since my last visit. White leather, chrome accents, a coffee table that looked like it cost more than my first car. Everything pristine and cold and untouched by actual life. David opened the CAS folder. Inside were printouts, brochures for retirement communities, financial spreadsheets, and something else, something that made my hands go numb. We've done a lot of research, Dad. The best option, financially and practically, is Meadowbrook Senior Living. It's only 40 minutes from here. We could visit monthly. Monthly. The word hung in the air like a sentencing. David, I don't understand. I'm healthy. I'm independent. Why are we even having this conversation? Jennifer leaned forward. Her perfume was expensive. Everything about her was expensive now. Robert, you have to understand. We're thinking about the future. What happens if you fall? What if there's a medical emergency? That house is isolated. The nearest neighbor is, 200 feet away? Mrs. Patterson next door is a retired nurse. We check on each other daily. David's jaw tightened. Dad, we've made a decision. We think it's best if you list the house in the spring. That gives you time to sort through things, downsize, and transition smoothly. We've already spoken to a realtor, Sandra Morrison. She thinks we could get 470,000, maybe 490 if we stage it right. We, he said, we. You've spoken to a realtor about my house without telling me? We're trying to help you, Dad. This is what responsible children do. We plan ahead. I looked at my son, really looked at him. When had his face become so smooth, so carefully neutral? He looked like a corporate attorney delivering bad news to a client, not like the boy I'd raised. The one who'd cried in my arms when his mother died. The one I'd sat with through college application rejections and his first heartbreak. What if I say no? The room temperature seemed to drop. Jennifer and David exchanged a glance, some silent communication I wasn't privy to. Dad, let's be realistic. You're living on Social Security and a small pension. That house has property taxes, maintenance costs, utilities. The part numbers don't really work long term. We've run them. David tapped the spreadsheet. At Meadowbrook, everything's included. You'd have financial security. I have financial security now. The house is paid off. But for how long can you afford the upkeep? Last year alone you spent, David consulted his papers, nearly $8,000 on repairs and maintenance. New roof, furnace service. That's not sustainable. How did he know those numbers? I'd never discussed them with him. Jennifer's voice softened into something meant to sound kind. Robert, we love you. We want what's best for you. And honestly, having you closer would be wonderful. The kids barely see their grandfather. The kids, Emma was 9, Noah was 6. I'd seen them exactly 4 times in the past year. Always at David's house, always brief, supervised visits where Jennifer hovered nearby, checking her watch. When's the last time you brought them to visit me? I asked quietly. David's face flushed. That's not fair. You know how busy we are. Jennifer's running the PTA. I'm up for partner. We have soccer, piano, swimming lessons. Life is complicated with kids. I managed to make time for you when you were growing up, even working 2 jobs after your mother died. The words came out harder than I intended. David's eyes went cold. That was different. We didn't have the same opportunities we're giving our children. We didn't have the same social obligations. You wouldn't understand. I wouldn't understand. My son, who I'd raised alone from age 13, who I'd put through college and graduate school, who'd lived rent-free in my basement for 3 years while he and Jennifer saved for their first house. I wouldn't understand. I think I should go, I said, standing. Dad, wait. We're not finished. David's voice had an edge now. We need you to at least consider this seriously. Look through these brochures. Meet with Sandra. Just explore the options. And if I don't want to explore them? Jennifer's mask slipped slightly. Robert, you're being unreasonable. We're offering to help coordinate everything. The alternative is that you wait until something forces the issue. A fall, an illness. Then decisions get made in crisis mode, and nobody's happy. It was a threat wrapped in concern. Very smooth, very practiced. I'll think about it, I said, just to end the conversation. I drove home through snow that was falling harder now. My hands were steady on the wheel, but something inside me was cracking. The folder sat on the passenger seat. I hadn't taken it. David had insisted, tucking it under my arm as I left. Back home, I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table. The same table where Martha and I had eaten breakfast together for 18 years. The same table where I'd helped David with homework and college applications. I opened the folder, really examined it this time. The brochures for Meadowbrook showed smiling elderly people playing cards and doing watercolor paintings. Monthly costs starting at $4,200. Studio apartments, shared dining facilities, organized activities. The financial spreadsheet was detailed, too detailed. It listed my income sources, my property taxes, my insurance costs, my utility averages. David had been tracking my finances, without my knowledge, without my permission. At the bottom of the folder was something else, a draft listing agreement for my house, pre-filled with information, Sandra Morrison's name and contact information. A suggested listing price of $485,000. And then I saw it. In the small print of the contract, a clause about commission splitting. Sandra Morrison would receive 5%, standard. But there was a co-listing agent fee, 2% to David Maxwell, licensed real estate agent. My son had gotten his real estate license 8 months ago. He'd never mentioned it to me. And now he was positioning to make nearly $10,000 in commission from forcing me to sell my home. The coffee turned cold in my mug. I sat there as darkness fell outside and the snow piled up on my windowsills. The house was quiet except for the furnace humming its reliable rhythm. This house that was too much for me. This house I couldn't maintain. I'd replaced that furnace 3 years ago. Cost me $4,200. I'd chosen the most efficient model because I planned to live here for the long term. The roof was 30-year architectural shingles, installed last summer. The windows were new as of 2 years ago, double pane, and energy efficient. I'd updated the electrical panel, insulated the attic properly. This house wasn't falling apart. This house was in better condition than most homes half its age, because I'd maintained it carefully, because I'd loved it. I thought about Martha then, how she'd walked through this empty house with me 23 years ago, 7 months after her cancer diagnosis. How she'd said, "This is where you'll heal, Robert, after I'm gone. This house has good bones and good light. Promise me you'll be happy here." I'd kept that promise. Even through the grief, even through the loneliness, I'd painted these walls colors Martha had chosen. I'd planted the garden she'd sketched out. I'd hung bird feeders because she'd loved watching cardinals in winter. This wasn't just a house. This was my last connection to the woman I'd loved for 42 years. And my son wanted to sell it so he could make a commission and convince himself he was being helpful. I picked up my phone. There was a text from David. "Thanks for coming today, Dad. I know change is hard, but this is really for the best. Let's talk next week about next steps." Next steps. Like I'd already agreed. Like my life was a project plan he could manage on a spreadsheet. I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled out my own records. I'm old-fashioned that way. I keep paper files, bank statements, tax, returns, receipts. I spent Saturday night and all day Sunday going through 23 years of documents. I made a list, a careful, detailed accounting of every dollar I'd spent on David since Martha died. 4 years of undergraduate tuition. David had gotten some scholarships, but I'd covered the rest. $63,400. 3 years of law school. Student loans in my name because his credit wasn't established yet. $91,000. Still paying those off. The down payment on his first townhouse. $42,000. 3 years of rent-free living in my basement while he and Jennifer saved money. I calculated the fair market rent he'd have paid elsewhere. $43,200. The wedding. David and Jennifer had wanted something elegant. I'd paid for half. $19,800. Help with a down payment on the Wellington Estates house. when the townhouse equity wasn't quite enough. 22,000. Alone when David's firm cut associate bonuses one year and they were short on their mortgage. 15,000. Never repaid. The car I'd co-signed for when his credit score wasn't high enough. 31,000. Paid off early using my savings when he was struggling with the payments. Small amounts here and there. Emergency room visit for Emma when she was 2, and they were between insurance plans. New tires when his car failed inspection. Christmas gifts. Birthday money for the grandkids. The total came to $347,600, nearly $350,000 transferred from my life to his over 28 years. I'd never kept score before, never wanted to. You don't keep score with your children. You give because you love them. But sitting there at my kitchen table, looking at my son's spreadsheet, analyzing my ability to afford my own home, something shifted. He was keeping score. He was running numbers. He was calculating whether I was financially viable. So I calculated back. My pension and Social Security combined gave me $41,000 a year. My property taxes were $4,800. My utilities averaged $2,300. Insurance, maintenance, food, medical expenses, basic living. I ran the numbers honestly. I had a cushion, not a huge one, but adequate. I could live in this house comfortably for years. The only way the math didn't work was if I kept saying yes every time David needed something. The $15,000 loan last year that was never repaid, the $5,000 I'd given him the year before when Jennifer wanted to renovate their master bathroom. My son didn't need me to downsize for my own good. He needed me to downsize so he could stop worrying that I might not have anything left to help him with his next emergency. Or worse, that I might need help myself someday, and he'd have to provide it. Monday morning, I called my attorney, James Breslin. I'd used him for my will and Martha's estate. He was semi-retired now, but he still took calls from old clients. Robert, good to hear from you. What can I do for you? I explained the situation, the folder, the pressure, the real estate license I'd discovered. James was quiet for a moment. Robert, I'm going to be very direct with you. What your son is doing walks a fine line ethically. Not illegal exactly, but certainly problematic. Do you need help setting some boundaries? I need help protecting myself, legally, just in case. Just in case of what? In case he tries to declare me incompetent. In case he tries to get power of attorney. In case this turns into something more than pressure. James's voice hardened. Has he threatened anything like that? Not explicitly, but the whole conversation felt like a setup. Like they're building a narrative that I can't manage my own affairs. All right, here's what we do. First, we update your will to be crystal clear about your intentions. Second, we create an advanced directive that specifies exactly who does and doesn't have authority to make decisions if you become incapacitated. Third, we document your current mental and physical competence with your doctor. Create a paper trail that shows you're of sound mind and body. Can you come in this week? I went in Wednesday morning. James had prepared everything. We spent 2 hours reviewing documents, signing papers, getting everything notarized. He also recommended I get a full physical with cognitive screening, just to have current medical records showing competence. Dr. Sarah Kim had been my physician for 12 years. When I explained what I needed, she didn't hesitate. Your blood pressure is excellent. Your cholesterol is managed. You passed the cognitive screening with flying colors. You're in better shape than most 60-year-olds I see. I'll document everything formally. She paused, looking at me with concern. Robert, I have to ask, Do you feel safe? Is there any chance your son would try to harm you or coerce you? No, nothing like that. He just wants me to make decisions that benefit him. And I need to be able to prove I'm making my own choices. She nodded slowly. I'll write a detailed assessment. If you ever need me to testify to your competence, I will. I left her office feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Control. Agency. I was taking my life back. David called that evening. Dad, have you had a chance to look through those brochures? Sandra really wants to meet with you. She has some great ideas for staging the house. I'm not selling, David. Silence. Then his voice, colder. Dad, we talked about this. You agreed to explore options. No, you told me to explore options. I listened. Now, I'm telling you my decision. I'm staying in my home. This is ridiculous. You're being stubborn and irrational. Don't you want what's best for your grandchildren? Having you close by, safe, and cared for? I want what's best for me, which is staying in the home I own, that I've maintained beautifully, where I'm happy. You're not thinking clearly. Maybe we need to talk to your doctor about this. There it was, the threat barely veiled. My doctor says I'm in excellent health, physically and mentally. I had a full evaluation 3 days ago. She documented everything. Another silence. I could almost hear him recalculating. You went to the doctor without telling me? I'm 71, David, not 7. I don't need to report my medical appointments to you. Dad, I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to help yourself to $10,000 in commission and the peace of mind that comes from having me somewhere you can stop worrying about me. I understand, but I'm not doing it. Jennifer and I have discussed this. We really think Jennifer is not my family. You are, and you need to decide if you want to be my son or my estate planner. Because you can't be both. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt clear-headed, certain. 3 days passed. No calls from David. Then, on Saturday morning, a car pulled into my driveway. David and Jennifer. And someone else, an older woman with a professional briefcase. I opened the door before they could knock. Dad, this is Carol Henderson. She's a geriatric care specialist. We asked her to do a home assessment, just to give everyone peace of mind. Carol smiled warmly. Mr. Maxwell, I understand there's been some family discussion about your living situation. I'm here to help evaluate whether your current environment is safe and appropriate for your needs. I didn't request an evaluation. I don't consent to an evaluation. David stepped forward. Dad, please, just let Carol do her job. It's standard procedure. It protects everyone. Protects everyone from what? From making decisions based on emotion instead of facts. Carol is objective. She'll tell us all honestly whether this house is appropriate for you. I looked at this stranger on my porch, at my son, who'd brought her here without asking, at Jennifer, who stood back slightly, her face carefully neutral. Get off my property. Carol's smile faltered. Mr. Maxwell, I understand you're upset, but you're trespassing. I'm asking you to leave. David's face reddened. Dad, you're being paranoid and hostile. This is exactly the kind of behavior that concerns us. You're not acting rationally. I'm acting like a man whose son showed up uninvited with a stranger to evaluate his competence. Now leave. We're not leaving until leave, or I'm calling the police to remove you. Jennifer touched David's arm. David, maybe we should go. We can try again later. No. He needs to understand we're serious about this. I pulled out my phone, started dialing 911. David's eyes widened. You'd really call the cops on your own son? You'd really try to force your way into your father's home with a stranger? Carol stepped back. I think it's best if I go. Mr. Maxwell, here's my card if you change your mind. She placed it on the porch railing and walked to her car. Jennifer followed quickly. David stood there for another moment, staring at me like I'd become someone he didn't recognize. This isn't over, Dad. You're going to hurt yourself. And then what? Then we have to pick up the pieces, deal with the emergency, make decisions in crisis mode. Just like Jennifer said, why won't you let us prevent that? Because it's my life, my house, my decision. You want to prevent something that hasn't happened and might never happen. I want to live. He shook his head slowly. You're making a mistake. A serious mistake. Don't come crying to us when it all falls apart. He left. I watched his car disappear down the street, then picked up Carol Henderson's card and tore it into small pieces. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the confrontation, David's face, the anger and frustration, and something else. Something that looked like fear. But fear of what? That I'd fall? Or that I'd die without leaving enough behind to make his life easier? Sunday morning, my neighbor Mrs. Patterson knocked on my door with a casserole. Robert, I saw the commotion yesterday. Are you all right? I invited her in, told her everything. She listened quietly, her face growing more troubled. My daughter tried something similar with me 5 years ago, she finally said. Wanted me to sell my house and move in with her family. Said it was for my own good. What she meant was, it was for her inheritance. She'd already calculated what the house was worth and what her share would be. What did you do? I got a lawyer, made very clear legal arrangements, told her if she kept pushing, she'd get nothing. She backed off. We have a relationship now, but it's different. Careful. I learned that sometimes you have to protect yourself from the people who are supposed to protect you. After she left, I pulled out James Breslin's card, called him at home. He answered, James, I need to update my will again. I want to make some changes. What kind of changes? I want to leave my house to the County Historical Society. They've been trying to preserve homes in this neighborhood. Let them have it. The rest of my estate can be divided as planned, but not the house. David doesn't get to sell it. Robert, that's a significant decision. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Monday morning, we made the changes. The house would be preserved, maintained, used for community purposes. David would receive my financial assets, but not the thing he really wanted, not the $485,000 in real estate value. I felt lighter after signing those documents, like I'd taken back something essential. David called Tuesday evening. His voice was different, conciliatory. Dad, I'm sorry about Saturday. We came on too strong. Jennifer and I talked, and we realize we've been pushing too hard. We're just worried about you. I understand, but I'm fine, David. I really am. I know you think you are. But humor me, okay? Just let me help you with a few things. I looked at your furnace maintenance records. You're due for a service. Let me call my guy, get someone out there. My treat. Something in his tone made me cautious. I have my own HVAC company, same one for years. Sure, but my guy is really good. Does work for half the houses in Wellington Estates. Please, Dad, let me do this for you. I agreed, mostly to end the conversation. He gave me a name and number. Rick Thompson, Thompson Heating and Cooling. Rick showed up Thursday morning. Friendly, professional. Spent 2 hours checking the furnace, the ductwork, the thermostat. Then he came upstairs looking concerned. "Mr. Maxwell, I've got to be honest with you. This furnace is on its last legs. I'm surprised it's still running. You're looking at a serious safety hazard here. Carbon monoxide risk. I'd recommend immediate replacement. That furnace is 3 years old. Top of the line model." Well, sir, sometimes even the best models have defects, and the installation wasn't done properly. See, the exhaust venting is all wrong. This could fail any time, especially in cold weather. You don't want to be here when that happens. He showed me photos on his phone, parts that looked corroded, connections that looked wrong. It all seemed very official and very alarming. How much for a replacement? For you, since you're David's father, I could do it for $12,000. Usually I'd charge 14, but family rate, $12,000 for a furnace. I'd paid $4,200 for 3 years ago. A furnace that had passed every annual inspection. Let me think about it. I'll call you. After he left, I called the company that installed my original furnace, explained the situation. They sent someone out that afternoon, Mike Rodriguez, examined everything carefully, took his own photos. Then he straightened up, frowning. "Mr. Maxwell, your furnace is fine, perfect condition. These photos someone showed you? These aren't from your system, different model entirely. You've been scammed." "You're sure?" "I'm positive. I installed this unit myself 3 years ago. I'd recognize it anywhere. Whoever told you it was dangerous was lying to you." I thanked him, paid him for his time. Then I sat down and thought very carefully about what had just happened. My son had sent someone to my house to lie about my furnace, to create a safety emergency, to prove I couldn't maintain my home properly. $12,000 I'd supposedly need to spend, making me more financially vulnerable, more dependent, more likely to accept his solution of selling. This wasn't concern. This was sabotage. I called James Breslin again. "I need you to document something." I told him about the furnace scam, about Rick Thompson, about the photos that weren't my system. "Robert, this is serious. This is potentially fraud. Do you want to pursue this legally?" "Not yet, but I want it documented, just in case I need proof of what he's doing." Friday afternoon, David called. "Dad, Rick told me about your furnace. I'm really worried. This is exactly what we've been saying. The house is too much. Too many systems that could fail. What if that furnace had given out in the middle of the night? You could have died." "The furnace is fine, David." I had a second opinion. Rick lied to me. Silence. That's Dad. Why would he lie? He's a professional. You tell me. He's your guy. I don't know what to say. Maybe there was a miscommunication. But the point stands. You're one emergency away from a serious crisis. Why won't you accept help? Because your help comes with strings. You want me to sell my house. You want your commission. You want to stop worrying about me so you can focus on your life. I get it, but I'm not doing it. That's not fair. This isn't about money. Then why did you get a real estate license without telling me? Why is your name on that listing agreement? He'd forgotten I'd seen that detail. The silence stretched long. Dad, you're twisting everything, making it ugly when it doesn't have to be. We're trying to help you transition into this next phase of life gracefully, with dignity. Why are you fighting us so hard? Because it's my life. Not a phase, not a transition. My life. Fine, fine. Do what you want. But don't expect me to be there to pick up the pieces when it all goes wrong. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, feeling something crack wider inside my chest. This was my son. The boy I'd raised, The man I'd loved and supported and sacrificed for. And he was threatening to abandon me because I wouldn't let him control me. The snow was falling again outside. Big, fat flakes that covered the world in white. Martha used to say snow was like a reset button. A chance to start fresh, cover the mess, make everything clean again. I wished it was that simple. December wore on. David didn't call, didn't text. Christmas was coming, and for the first time in my life, I didn't know if I'd see my grandchildren. I sent gifts to Emma and Noah, books and art supplies, carefully chosen. I got back a text from Jennifer. Thanks for the gifts. Kids loved them. No invitation to visit, no photos of them opening the presents, just a courtesy text. I spent Christmas Eve alone. Made myself dinner, watched old movies, went to bed early. Christmas morning, I woke up to silence. No excited grandchildren. No son calling to say Merry Christmas. Just me and this house Martha had loved. Around noon, there was a knock at my door. Mrs. Patterson, with her daughter and 2 grandchildren. Robert, we're not letting you spend Christmas alone. Get your coat. You're coming to dinner with us. I went. Spent the afternoon with people who owed me nothing but chose to include me anyway. We played board games with the kids, ate too much pie, laughed at terrible jokes. That night, back in my house, I realized something. Family isn't who you're born to. Family is who shows up, who wants you there, who makes space at the table without calculating what it cost them. New Year's came, still no word from David. I told myself it was fine. I had my house, my independence, my dignity. That was enough. But on January 4th, everything changed. I was carrying groceries in from the car. The driveway was icy. I was being careful, taking my time, but one foot slipped anyway. I went down hard on my left side. Pain shot through my hip like lightning. I managed to pull myself up using the car. Got inside. The pain was intense, but manageable. I could walk, carefully. Nothing broken, I thought. Just bruised. I should have called someone. Should have gotten checked out. But I knew what would happen if I did. David would hear about it. Would say, I told you so. Would use it as proof I couldn't manage alone. So I didn't call anyone. I iced my hip, took some ibuprofen, rested for a few days. A week later, Mrs. Patterson noticed me limping. Robert, what happened? I told her. She insisted on driving me to urgent care. The x-rays showed a hairline fracture. Not serious, but I'd need to be careful. Physical therapy, rest, no driving for a few weeks. The doctor was concerned. Mr. Maxwell, you should have come in sooner. And you really shouldn't be living alone right now. Do you have family who can help? I'll manage. But word got out somehow. Small towns are like that. 3 days later, David showed up at my door. He didn't knock. He used the key I'd given him years ago. Let himself in. I was sitting in my recliner, reading. Looked up to see him standing in my living room. Dad, I heard about your fall. I'm fine. You're not fine. You fractured your hip and didn't tell anyone for a week. This is exactly what we've been worried about. You could have died, but I didn't. I'm healing. I'll be back to normal in a month. David sat down across from me. His face was different. Not angry. Sad. Dad, I love you. I don't want to fight anymore. But you have to see reason. This fall proves you need help. You need to be somewhere with support. What if it had been worse? What if you'd hit your head? But I didn't. But you could have. Next time you might. Dad, please, let's look at those senior communities again. Just visit a few. See what they're like. For me, please. There was something genuine in his voice. something that sounded like real fear. Maybe I'd been too harsh. Maybe he really was just worried, even if his methods were wrong. All right, I'll visit one, just to look. His face lit up. Really? Really? One visit? No promises. He hugged me carefully, mindful of my hip. Thank you, Dad, thank you. You won't regret this. The following Tuesday, David picked me up. We drove to Meadowbrook, senior living. It was exactly like the brochures. Clean, cheerful, aggressively pleasant. A woman named Patricia gave us the tour. Studio apartments with tiny kitchenettes. Shared dining room with scheduled meal times. Activity room with puzzles and crafts. A small library. A garden courtyard. We have a wonderful community here, Patricia said brightly. Residents form close friendships. There are daily activities, weekly outings, monthly celebrations. You're never alone here. Never alone because you're never really private, I thought. But I kept my mouth shut. I'd promised to look. We toured a vacant studio apartment, 200 square feet, smaller than my current living room, a Murphy bed, a corner that served as a kitchen, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. This is cozy, David said, trying to sound positive. It was a cell, a well-appointed cell, but a cell nonetheless. Patricia showed us the dining room. Residents sat at assigned tables. The meal schedule was posted on the wall. Breakfast, 7 to 8. Lunch, noon to 1. Dinner, 5 to 6. Miss your window, and you were out of luck. We find that structure really helps our residents thrive, Patricia explained. It gives the day purpose and rhythm. It gives the staff predictability and cost control, I thought. We finished the tour. Patricia handed me a packet of information. We have a studio opening in March. Perfect timing for you. The monthly fee is $4,300, which includes all meals, basic utilities, and access to all activities. Additional services like housekeeping and laundry are extra. $4,300, $51,600 a year, more than my entire current annual income. In the car, David was enthusiastic. It's nice, right? Clean, safe, everything you need. How would I afford it? Well, that's the thing. You'd sell the house. The proceeds would cover your expenses for, let's see, about 9 years. After that, you could use your pension and Social Security, maybe supplement with, my pension and Social Security don't cover the monthly cost. Right, but I'd help. Jennifer and I would contribute. We want you to be comfortable. He'd help with my money from selling my house. Until that ran out, and then he'd contribute an amount that was less than the property taxes he'd save by not having me around anymore. David, that place costs more annually than I currently spend on everything. House, food, medical, everything. How is that better? Because you're safe. Because there's staff. Because we don't have to worry about you falling again. There it was. We don't have to worry. I need to think about it, I said. His jaw tightened. Dad, you promised you'd consider it seriously. I am. I'm considering that I'd be spending $50,000 a year to live in a room smaller than my garage, eating on someone else's schedule, doing crafts I don't want to do with people I don't know. Let me think about whether that sounds like an improvement. We drove the rest of the way in silence. When we reached my house, David parked, but didn't turn off the engine. Dad, I'm going to be straight with you. Jennifer and I have been discussing this with an attorney. If you keep refusing reasonable help, if you keep putting yourself at risk, we may have to pursue guardianship. For your own protection. The words hit like a physical blow. Guardianship. legal control over my life. You'd do that? We don't want to. But if you force our hand, if you keep making dangerous choices, then yes. We have to protect you, even from yourself. I got out of the car slowly, my hip aching, stood there looking at my son through the window. Get off my property. Dad, I mean it. Leave. And don't come back unless I invite you. He drove away. I stood in my driveway, shaking, as the winter sun set behind my house. The house I'd bought with Martha, the house I'd maintained and loved, the house my son wanted to take from me. I went inside and called James Breslin. He's threatening guardianship, James swore softly. On what grounds? The fall says I'm making dangerous choices by living alone. Do you have the medical records from the urgent care visit? Yes. Good. Forward them to me. Along with your physical therapy schedule and your doctor's notes, we need to show you're being responsible and following medical advice. Also, I want you to set up cameras in your home, security cameras, to document that you're managing fine. Is that really necessary? Robert, if he pursues guardianship, every aspect of your life becomes evidence. We need to show you're competent, careful, and capable. The cameras protect you. I installed cameras the next day. Front door, back door, living room, kitchen. Not to spy on myself, but to prove I was functioning normally. It felt paranoid and sad and necessary. The physical therapy helped. After 3 weeks, I was walking without a limp. After 5 weeks, I was back to my normal routine. The cameras showed exactly what I already knew. I was fine, independent, capable. February arrived. Still no contact from David. I almost called him a dozen times, wanting to bridge the gap, wanting my son back. But every time I reached for the phone, I remembered his threat, guardianship. Taking away my autonomy because I wouldn't obey. I couldn't forget that. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, there was a package on my porch. No return address. I brought it inside carefully, opened it to find a stack of legal documents, petition for guardianship and conservatorship. David Maxwell, petitioner, Robert Maxwell, respondent. Court date scheduled for March 15th. I read through the petition with growing horror. It painted me as a confused, deteriorating old man. Cited the fall as evidence of declining physical capability. Claimed I was refusing necessary medical intervention. The fake furnace stated that I was exhibiting signs of paranoia and hostility. Refusing the home evaluation. Included sworn statements from Jennifer about concerning behaviors she'd witnessed. This was happening. My son was really doing this. I called James immediately. He filed. I'll get a copy of the petition. Robert, listen to me carefully. This is serious, but we have a strong defense. Your medical records show competence. Your doctor will testify. Your financial records show you're managing your affairs properly. The cameras document your daily functioning. He has weak evidence and a clear conflict of interest. We'll win this. And what happens to our relationship after I win? James was quiet. That's not a legal question. That's something you'll have to figure out for yourself. The next 6 weeks were a nightmare. James prepared our defense. Dr. Kim wrote a detailed report on my physical and mental competence. My accountant provided documentation of my financial management. We collected footage from the security cameras showing me cooking, cleaning, managing my life perfectly well. We also investigated Rick Thompson, found out he'd done this before, lied about furnace problems to elderly clients, then collected kickbacks from contractors who did unnecessary replacements. We filed a formal complaint with the state licensing board. The guardianship hearing was scheduled for March 15th at 2 in the afternoon. I arrived at the courthouse with James at 1:30. My hands were steady, but my heart was racing. David was already there with his attorney, Jennifer beside him. They dressed carefully, David in a dark suit, Jennifer in a conservative dress, both of them looking like responsible, concerned children. When David saw me, he stood. "Dad, it doesn't have to be like this. Just withdraw your opposition. Let us help you. We can work this out without a trial. You made it a trial when you filed for guardianship. We're doing this because we love you. You're doing this because you want control of my house." His attorney interrupted. "Mr. Maxwell, that's not what this is about. Your son has legitimate concerns about your welfare. Then he should talk to me, not sue me." We went into the courtroom. Judge Patricia Morrison presiding. Not related to Sandra Morrison, the realtor, but the coincidence felt cruel anyway. David's attorney went first, presented the fall as evidence of declining capability, called Jennifer to testify about my supposed confusion and memory problems, claimed the fractured hip proved I needed supervised care. Then it was our turn. James called Dr. Kim first. She testified about my excellent health, my cognitive competence, my responsible approach to recovery from the fall. "In your professional opinion, does Mr. Maxwell need a guardian?" James asked. "Absolutely not. He's fully capable of managing his own affairs. The fall was an accident on ice. It could happen to anyone. His response-seeking medical care, following treatment protocols, attending physical therapy shows excellent judgment. Next, my accountant testified about my financial management, showed 20 years of careful budgeting, timely bill payments, adequate savings, no evidence of confusion or poor judgment. Then James entered the evidence about Rick Thompson, the fake furnace inspection, the attempted $12,000 scam, the licensing complaint. "Your Honor," James said, "this petition isn't about protecting Mr. Maxwell. It's about controlling his assets. The petitioner has a real estate license and stands to gain approximately $10,000 in commission from forcing the sale of his father's home. He sent fraudulent contractors to manufacture evidence of incompetence. This is elder financial abuse disguised as concern." The judge looked at David. "Mr. Maxwell, did you send Mr. Thompson to inspect your father's furnace?" David's face reddened. "Yes, but I didn't." "No," he would lie. "I was trying to help." "Did you disclose to your father that you have a real estate license and would earn commission from selling his house?" "That's not why I suggested it." "Did you disclose it?" "No." "But answer, yes or no." "No." Judge Morrison reviewed the medical records, the financial documents, the security camera footage showing me cooking breakfast, reading the newspaper, managing my daily life with perfect normalcy. Finally, she looked up. "I'm denying this petition. Mr. Robert Maxwell has demonstrated clear competence in managing his affairs. His medical professionals support his independence. His financial records show responsible management. The evidence presented by the petitioner appears to be motivated by financial interests rather than genuine concern for welfare." She turned to David. "Mr. Maxwell, I'm troubled by what I've seen here. Using the legal system to control a competent elder's assets is serious. If I see another petition from you regarding your father, I'll refer the matter to Adult Protective Services for investigation of financial abuse. Do you understand?" David nodded, his face pale. "This hearing is concluded." I stood up, feeling like I could breathe again for the first time in weeks. James shook my hand. "Congratulations. Outside the courthouse, David caught up with me. Dad, wait, please. I stopped, turned to face him. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought you needed help. You thought you needed my house. That's not fair, isn't it? You got a real estate license. You sent a contractor to lie about my furnace. You tried to have me declared incompetent so you could control my assets. What part of that was about helping me? Tears welled in his eyes. I was scared. When you fell, I was so scared. What if next time is worse? What if you die alone in that house and nobody finds you for days? Then I die alone. It's my choice, my life. You don't get to take that from me just because it makes you more comfortable. I'm your son. I'm supposed to take care of you. You're supposed to love me, respect me, want what I want, not what's convenient for you. You've failed at all of those things. I walked away, left him standing there on the courthouse steps, went home to my house, the house I'd defended, the house I'd kept. That evening, I sat in Martha's favorite chair and cried, not from relief, though there was that, but from grief. I'd won the legal battle, but I'd lost my son. Or maybe I'd never had the son I thought I had. Maybe that son had been a fiction I'd created, investing money and time and hope into a person who saw me as a resource instead of a father. Spring came. I healed completely, went back to my routine. Mrs. Patterson and I continued our daily check-ins. I joined a book club at the library, started volunteering at a local food bank, built a life that didn't include waiting for my son to call. He did call. Once, in April. Dad, I want to make this right. Can we talk? What do you want to talk about? I want to apologize. Really apologize. I was wrong. I see that now. Okay, apology heard. Can I come over? Can we have dinner? Try to rebuild? I thought about it, about whether I could sit across from him at my table and not see the person who'd tried to take my home, the person who'd filed legal papers to declare me incompetent, the person who'd calculated what my house was worth and decided it was worth more than my autonomy. Not yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. How long? As long as it takes. That's not fair. I apologized. I'm trying. You know what's not fair? Spending 47 years being someone's father, giving them everything, and having them repay you by trying to steal your life. Let me know when you figure out how to fix that. I hung up. And I meant it. Maybe someday we'd find our way back to something, but it would have to be something different, something honest, something that didn't involve him calculating the value of my existence. In May, I updated my will one final time. The house would go to the County Historical Society as planned. My financial assets would be split between several charities, a scholarship fund for students who'd lost parents young, a grant program for caregivers, a donation to the local food bank. David would receive exactly what he'd given me in the end. Nothing. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I realized he'd never valued what I'd tried to give him, the love, the support, the stability. He'd only ever seen the dollars. So now he'd get exactly that. $0. And maybe, in the space where inheritance should have been, he'd find room for understanding. Or maybe not. Maybe he'd be angry and resentful and convinced I'd wronged him. Either way, it would be honest. No more pretending. No more calculations disguised as care. I'm 72 now. I still live in the house Martha loved. I still watch cardinals at the feeders in winter. I still maintain every inch of this place with pride and care. David sends cards on my birthday and at Christmas. Brief notes saying he's thinking of me. I send them back unopened. Not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. He wanted to manage me, not know me, and I'm done being managed. Mrs. Patterson asked me once if I regret how things turned out, if I wish I'd handled it differently. I thought about it, really thought about it. No, I finally said. I saved myself. That's not something to regret, she nodded. Sometimes the bravest thing a parent can do is stop being one. Stop letting your child's needs define your worth. Stop giving more than they're capable of appreciating. That takes courage. I think she's right. It took me 71 years to learn that love shouldn't cost me my dignity. That family isn't just blood. That home is where you choose to stay, not where someone forces you to leave. This house will outlive me. The Historical Society will preserve it. Maybe families will visit. Maybe children will learn about the neighborhood's history. Maybe someone will stand in Martha's kitchen and feel the love that still fills these walls. And maybe, somewhere, David will realize what he lost. Not the house, not the money, but the father who would have given him anything except the one thing he demanded: surrender. I wouldn't give him that. I won't regret that. Because in the end, this isn't a story about inheritance or real estate or family conflict. It's a story about a man who learned, late but not too late, that he had the right to his own life. Even if his son disagreed, even if it meant being alone, even if it meant winter. If you like this story, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to more stories, click on the window on the right. Thank you for being with us.